Hi Flosstube, I'm Rachel, Stitchy Rach, here on Flosstube and on Instagram. It's Tuesday the 10th of January and this is a YouTube channel about cross stitch. Hi everyone, Happy New Year! Feels a little bit late to be saying that on the 10th of January, but this is my first Flosstube of 2023. So welcome if you are a regular here and have turned up to see what 2023 has in store for my stitching. Big thank you if you stuck with me through Flossmas, or if you found me through Flossmas, or if you joined in halfway through Flossmas. Some of those videos are a bit... So I can't believe I lasted the course, and if you lasted the course with me, thank you very, very much. And if it is your very first time here, you're very, very welcome. I hope you enjoy the stitching I have to show you today. And today I'm going to do my 2023 WIP Parade. So this is a great time to join and see what's going on in my stitching life and see what I have planned for 2023. So unusually for me, I have done some organisation before I sat down to film this because I feel this might be a bit of a mammoth task. So I've made some notes, I've organised things into an order that makes sense to me. It does make sense, it's in chronological order, it's all going to make sense today. But I have some notes. It might take a while. So I would suggest, if you haven't already, pause it now, get yourself a drink, some stitching, something to do while you watch this. To be honest, I very rarely stitch whilst watching Flosstube. My life kind of doesn't work like that. I'm often folding laundry, cooking, something like that while I'm watching Flosstube. So whatever's working for you. I might even film this in a few bits. So it's a really, I have the light on, you can probably tell the lighting's not ideal. But it's a really squalid day here in Kent. I'm loving the word squalid at the moment. The weather is squalid. It is horrible. It's rainy, it's grey, it's a little bit cold. Did the dog walk this morning and then had to take the dog to the vets. No emergency, just standard kind of yearly check-up stuff. But ended up being there like way longer than I thought I was going to be because there'd been some emergency with a pig. So we do live in the countryside, so you know. There was a pig in the vet, it's fine. But it meant that I was there longer than I was. So I think I'm probably going to film a little bit of this and then I'm going to go and make myself some lunch because it's already midday. And then come back and film the rest of it before I go and take the kids to school. So you won't be the only one who is doing this in chunks because I very much doubt anyone's going to sit there and watch this in one session. I do sometimes talk about knitting. I'm not planning to today. I think there's going to be enough here with this WIP Parade to keep us going. I'm not going to do any of my kind of standard Flosstube stuff. There's going to be no haul today. I will touch on plans a little bit as we go through, but I'm not going to do a specific plans section. My plan is to do the WIP Parade today, film again a normal Flosstube next week. And in that, I will show the 3 knitting WIPs I have. Because I only have 3 knitting WIPs. And I think today's going to be long enough without trying to pile knitting in as well. So I'll show those 3 knitting WIPs in a normal Flosstube next week. And I'll also show the haul I have next week. Because also there's a couple of bits coming that aren't actually here today. So we'll just do a proper haul section next week. So without further ado, shall we get cracking on the 2023 WIP Parade? So before I show you a project, I thought it'd be good to just give a bit of an overview of where I am. So I have 32 WIPs that I am about to show you. I started 2022, so last year, with 31 WIPs. So I'm not quite net zero. I said at the end of 2022 that I'd like to be net zero for the year. So I'm not, but I'm not far off. I've only gone up 1. So I started 2022 with 31 WIPs. I had 13 new starts in 2022 and I finished 11. And for those of you who are quick at maths, you're going, but that's 33 WIPs, Rachel. It is, but I also UFO'd 1 project. For those of you who don't know, UFO is unfinished object. So I had 1 project which was a long dog sampler that I decided I was scrapping during last year. Not because I didn't like the project, I just didn't like my fabric and thread combination on that project. So I will stitch it again at some point, but I scrapped it. So I'm coming into 2023 with 32 WIPs. In terms of how they break down, I have one WIP that was started before 2018. I didn't keep accurate records then, so I don't know exactly when it was started. I think about 2014. So I have one left from before 2008, and before 2018 rather. And in 2018 I started keeping records properly of when I started things. So I have one WIP left from 2018. I have 3 from 2019. 6 from 2020, 10 from 2021 and 11 from 2022. So not a lot of old WIPs left, but there are a couple of lurkers there. Of the WIPs I'm about to show you, 8 of them did not get a single stitch in 2022, which is pretty bad. And a further 20 of them had less than 1 week stitching in 2022. So 28 of these 32 WIPs got really minimal stitching last year, which I know sounds really bad, but it does mean A, I finished a lot of what I started, or finished something else, and B, I had 2 really big focus pieces last year that required a lot of stitching. So my Bouncing Babies ABC and my Peanuts Afghan. And they were my focus and I got them done. So the fact that a lot of these WIPs were hardly touched does not worry me at all, because they were not my focus last year and my focus and my goals were achieved. This year, I'm kind of planning a relaxed no new starts. So that's not to say I definitely won't start anything, but I'm going to try not to start things. If I really want to, I'm not going to stop myself, but I would like to spend some time on these WIPs that really didn't get a lot of love. So this year, for me, it's probably going to be the year of the WIP. And to that end, I did not have a new year, new start this year. So far, I have no new starts in 2023. Right, so that's all the preamble done. As I go along, I'll tell you when it was started, how much stitching it got last year, what my thinking is on it for this year, and we'll see where we get to. Okay, hopefully that sounds good. I will try and keep an eye on my camera, because my camera stops recording after 30 minutes and I have to restart it, and then sometimes I don't realise and I'm waffling away to myself and it's not recording. Anyway, so let's put the notes down. I'm just going to put them there actually, because they've got all my project information on them. I'm going to have a slurp of this tea and then we will dive right in. Okay, so project number 1. This is my very oldest WIP. And as I just said, I think I started this in 2014. I'm not entirely sure, I wasn't keeping records then, but I'm thinking about when my children were born, and I think I started this in between my eldest and my middle child, and I think I started it in 2014. What is this? What is this? This is Kent map by Heritage Crafts. So obviously we live in Kent. I wanted to stitch this on my wall. I really like maps. I'm pretty sure this is still available from Heritage Crafts. I think you can get it in a chart or a kit. I just got the chart. So this has been lurking for a long time, and this got no stitching on it at all last year. As I say, I did have some big goals to achieve. That's going to annoy me where that is. Let's fold that page over. There we go. And here is where it is now. Or even where it was last time I did a WIP parade. So that's where it is. So I would say I now have most of the outline of it done. And it's the middle bits that need completing. Which isn't a huge amount of stitching. I've got this big shield to do and the compass. But otherwise, the outline is the main part. If you've never stitched a Heritage Crafts before, they are a little bit fiddly. There's a lot of half stitches and not like standard quarter stitches. This is stitched on linen, So yes, sorry, this is stitched on, I think it's cream linen. 2/2 on, I would say it's a 28 count. I don't know, this was before I was keeping accurate track of anything. It's stitched in the DMC. But when I say half stitches, if you imagine you're stitching over a block of 9 when you stitch on linen, it will just stitch kind of over 6 of them, like either vertically or horizontally. So it is a little bit faffy and there's a lot of back stitching. But I would really, really like to finish this year. It has been lurking around for far too long. It's approaching a decade, and that is too long. Nothing should be around for a decade. So I would say that is one of my biggest focuses this year, and I do still really like it. It's just, you know, since I started it, I had 2 children and a lot has happened. So I just need to focus on it. So that is the first one, and that is a big focus for me this year. It is on my WIPGO board twice because it's on in its own right, and then one space on my WIPGO. Sorry, if you don't know what WIPGO is, it's a bingo style game. So you have a bingo board and you populate it with your project. It's the brainchild of Jessie Marie Does Stuff. She has loads of explanation videos on her channel, which I will link below. I'm sure everyone is very familiar with it, but that's what it is. I've done it for the last, this will be my 4th year of WIPGO. It really works for me, I love it. And that's on my WIPGO board twice, because it's on once in its own right, and then I have one square that's my oldest WIP, and I can't imagine that by the time that square is pulled, that will be finished. So I fully anticipate I'll be working on twice for WIPGO. And I've also given myself a lot of breathing space in my WIPGO this year. So my goals for most things on the WIPGO board are 10 days of stitching, and they draw 2 a month, which means that's 20 days of stitching, which means every month I've got kind of another 10 days of stitching where I can do whatever I like with it. So I'm giving myself a lot of leeway to just do what I fancy this year. Having been very regimented last year and these projects need finishing, this year I want to be like, do what you want. Do what you want. Okay, project number 2. I would say of all the projects I'm going to show you, this is the one that's closest to being UFO'd. I have lost a little bit of love for this project, and it had 0 stitches last year, and I think it had 0 the year before, you know, which is speaking to this is not something that I am desperate to pull out. And this cover photo is not great, but I'll show it to you anyway. And this is Seasonal Streets by Lakeside Needlecraft. I think it's Sharon Christine, but it was a Sal for Lakeside Needlecraft, so it's exclusive to them. You can still get it on their website as a kit or a chart. I joined it when it was a Sal in 2018, beginning of 2018. And all that had been released at that point was the border, and I really, really liked it. And it's not to say I don't like it now, I'll show you how much stitching has happened on it since I started it in January 2018. That is all that has been achieved since January 2018. So I've done about a quarter of the border, and I've stitched most of the first building, but it's not backstitched. And I just never feel like I want to pull this out. I have not planned to stitch on it this year either. It is not on my WIPGO board. And while I want to get rid of most of these old WIPs, this one still hasn't made it. So I hope by this time next year this will be my oldest WIP, but I perhaps need a serious talk with myself as to whether I should actually just UFO it. I don't really like UFOing things. I only UFO'd one last year because the fabric and thread combination just weren't working and I hadn't done very much of it. And I'm kind of like, I'll just let it languish. I'll just let it languish. And I might want to pick it up again. So we'll see. I'm not going to UFO it. It's stitched on the called for fabric, which also you can still get from Lakeside Needlecraft. It's a fabric flare called Lilac Sky, but I believe it's exclusive to Lakeside. I'm stitching it on 36 count. It's a 36 count even weave, and I'm stitching with all the called for DMC on that one. I say stitching on it, not very often. So they're the two oldest. So this is January 2018, the other one was pre-2018. So everything else was started in 2019 or later. And that's coming up for its 5-year anniversary, isn't it? January 2018. Yeah, it's 5 years old, and that's how much stitching it's got on it. Yeah, it's not good. It's not good. Okay, next one, number 3. Number 3, which I started on the 27th of January 2019, is Cardinal Points. Now again, this one has just been hanging around way too long. I absolutely love this chart. The minute I saw it, I was like, I have to have it, I have to start it. And I did, I had it, I started it. And it was just at a time when there was a lot of other things that had to be stitched. Like I was doing gifts for people, and so it just never really got off the ground. And it's now nearly 4 years old. I don't think I asked her to bong in. And it's now nearly 4 years old, and only about a quarter of it is done. So this is where it is. And I think I still love the chart, but I think it's been hanging around for so long. I have that feeling about working on it. It has come up on my WIPGO board for January. So this is due 10 days stitching in January. I haven't started that yet. I've been working on my other WIPGO drawer. But I would really like to finish it this year, because I think if I don't finish it this year, it's just going to languish really badly. So I would like to get this done. This is stitched on 36 count linen, white linen by Zweigart, with all the called for Gentle Arts, because this is an exclusive Gentle Arts chart. So it's charted by Julia Lyon of Long Dodge Samplers, but she did it exclusively for Gentle Arts, and so all the threads that are called are for Gentle Arts. You can get this from Lakeside Needlecraft in the UK. That's where I got mine. So yeah, I think I just need to give it some time. I think perhaps if I just gave it some time, I would fall back in love with it again. So I'm on day 9 of my first WIPGO drawer, which I'll show you when we get there, for January. And then it will be this, and then it will get 10 days, and then obviously I'm in my free period of 10 days at the end of the month, and maybe I'll just see how I'm getting on and see how I'm feeling about it then. Because I would really also like to get this finished this year. I'd like to get a lot of these old WIPs off the deck. Ideally, by the end of this year, I'll have nothing left from, if I'm being realistic, nothing left from before 2020, except 2. So I have 5 projects from before 2020, and I'm going, and then 2 of them will still be here. But one of them is Seasonal Streets, which we've just spoken about, and you'll understand why I don't think the other one's going to be finished when I get there. I have a lot of big projects. I don't stitch many smalls. I really don't. That's why I only finish kind of 11 things a year, because I just don't stitch a lot of small things. Just everything is massive. Everything is massive. This is in a House of Stitch and Stash project bag. Okay, number 4. Now number 4 got quite a bit of attention last year, and again I hope to finish it this year. So number 4 is Seize the Day by Caterpillar Cross Stitch. This is, again, it's still available on their website, I think as a chart or a kit. It was a sale. I started this on the 22nd of February 2019, and I started it as a sale. Obviously the sale is long over. And it really didn't have very much on it at the start of last year, but I used this between April and July, so good 4 months as my out and about stitching. So those of you who've been with me any length of time, you know that I'm a stay-at-home mum at the moment. I have 3 children, and I spend a lot of my time waiting while my children complete activities like dancing, piano, what else they do, swimming, you know, you name it, they do it, and I hang around. And so I like having a bit of stitching with me, but obviously that means it needs to be a reasonable size that I can kind of take around and not too complex. So this was what I did last year, and I completed most of the beach section, and I think after the summer I just had enough of it and I pulled something else out in September. But I would like to get this done this year, and I think that is achievable. This is stitched on, it's not the called for, it's a 32 count Belfast in Gold Rush by Crafty Kitten Fabrics, who are no longer trading, and it's with all the called for DMC. The only modifications I've made is that the sun was meant to have a face in, and I'm stitching this for one of my children, and I think faces in suns are very kind of Marmite, aren't they? You either like them or you don't. And the child I was stitching it for said no, they didn't want the face in the sun. And then this towel I did in a Jodrey Designs thread of the month instead of the called for. So that's that one. If you have any questions about any of these, just give me a shout. I'm happy to answer any of them. Right, this is the last one of 2019, and this is number 5. And this was my birthday start in 2019, so it starts on the 4th of September 2019. And this is the other one that will not be finished this year, and I will show you why, and you will immediately understand. This is Village of Hawkrun Hollow. I absolutely love this. I was so excited to start it. It got 0 stitches last year. 0. I am really sad about that, as I say. Other focuses. And this is really calling to me at the moment. It's on my WIPGO board, but I'm just itching to stitch on this. And I'm semi-tempted to pull it out at the end of the month, despite what I've just said about the Kent map and cardinal points. So you can see, I want to stitch on this. I'm not feeling that there. But yeah, I'm itching to get back to this. Absolutely itching. As I say, got 0 stitches last year. And all that is done on it is the first block. Which is why it is definitely not going to be finished this year. Definitely not. This is stitched on, it's a 32 count Belfast. And I know it's by Chromatic Alchemy. Ah, here's the tag. It's June, D-U-N-E, June, like sand dune, by Chromatic Alchemy, 32 count Belfast. I'm stitching it 2/2 with the DMC conversion, it's not the MPIs. And I've stayed true to that conversion apart from the river on that block, which I did change. Have I written down what I changed it to? Yes, 932, that's DMC 932, because the conversion looked very green to me for a river, and I wanted it to look blue. And oh god, I'm desperate to stitch on this. Absolutely love it. Absolutely love it. So yeah, maybe I'll just do this at the end of January. Forget everything I just said about goals and things that need to be finished. Maybe I'll just stitch on this. Yeah, I just really love it, and it's just been very neglected, and it's not for lack of love nor excitement about stitching on it. This is also squeezing everything back in a House of Stitch and Stash project bag. Okay, so that is the end of 2019, and my tummy's rumbling, and the camera, well, we're at 24 minutes. There's only 6 minutes left on this section before the camera will give up. So I'm just going to take a quick break there. I'm going to go make myself some lunch so my tummy stops grumbling. So it's a good time for you to take a break. And I'll be back in 2 seconds. You won't even know I've gone. But I suspect I'll be about half an hour. I might even sneak in a couple of lines of knitting. We'll see. Right, I'll see you in a little while for the 2020 whips. That's better, I'm back. I've had some lunch now, I've made another cup of tea, so ready to crack on, no more tummy grumbling. I also did sneak in 2 rows of knitting. Okay, so as I say, we are now on to 2020. Right, so this is the first one from 2020 I have to show you, and this is number 6 overall. So this is The Three Musketeers by Stitching Book Club. And it's just a cover sheet because it's a SAL. So it doesn't show the actual design. So I joined this as a SAL. I was a member of Stitching Book Club was I a member? I bought some of her SALs. Maybe I was only a member in 2021. Anyway, so Stitching Book Club on Etsy. And she did quite a few literary SALs. I've started 2 and I have 1 finished. But anyway, this was the Three Musketeers, which I started on the 26th of January 2020. This had no stitching in it last year, but I have done a teeny tiny bit of stitching on it in 2023. And here's where I am. So as you can see, this has not had a huge amount of love ever. I think since I picked it up, again, I've done these 2 leaves. So there's quite a lot to go here. I am stitching this on. Do I know what I am stitching it on? Bear with me. It's on 32 count Belfast linen in the colour Summer Sky by Crafty Kitten, who, as I said earlier, are no longer trading. But I used to be in one of their Fabric of the Month clubs, so I have quite a lot of their fabric. And it was charted in DMC, but I did my own conversion to colour and cotton, classic colourworks and gentle arts. So there's a bit of a mixed bag in there, but that will give you an idea of what the colour palette is. It's quite close to what was charted, but I just chose to use my overdyes. Because I think sometimes in these designs they can look really good. As you can see, there's quite a bit of variegation in that bow that I've done first. That's stitched in Almond Latte by Colour and Cotton. I'm going to keep this one out as my out and about project for a little while now. Just try and get this done and see if we can tick that off. I think I should be able to tick off quite a few of these 2020 starts as well, she says. I'm being a bit over ambitious with these plans maybe, but we'll see where we get to. But yes, that's staying out as my out and about. So I'm just going to chuck it over there by the door so I have it with me for later. Right, then we're going to move on to May 2020, and this is WIP number 7. 2020 was the first year I did Mania, so I did 20 new starts in May 2020. And then I did Stitch Mania in 2021 and 2022. I don't think I'm going to be doing it this year. That is not in my current plans. As I say, I want to get on top of some of these WIPs. I feel okay with 32 WIPs. I wouldn't want to go above 40 for me. I think I'd be a bit like, ooh, I'm never going to stitch any of this. Particularly because most of my WIPs are big. But I'm kind of happy with 32, but if it was under 30, I'd probably be a little bit happier. Anyway, number 7 is what I started on the 1st of May 2020, and it's Modern Folk Embroidery, Real Comfort, a Jane Austen sampler. I'm sure a lot of you are familiar with that. And this got 1 day stitching in 2022, so I clearly stitched on it during Stitch Mania 2022. And this is where I am. So, it's not a disaster, this one. I find words usually quite quick to stitch. So I've done this side of the houses and I've come up. So maybe a quarter of the way through. Maybe just under a quarter. It's on 40 count antique white and I'm using Silks for You PR011. I love green. Green is my favourite colour. So again, I'd like to focus a little bit on that this week. That is down for 10 days stitching on my WIPGO board. And I think 10 days will make a real dent in that. That's never had a huge amount of attention since it was started. So yeah, hopefully 10 days progress on that we'll see it move further forward. This is in a fabulous project bag by Penelope's Pocket. It's a Pride and Prejudice bag. And this is my first Penelope's Pocket bag because it just fitted so perfectly with the project, and they've got people dancing on the inside. So yes, love that. Love that. Did I say that's on my WIPGO board? That is on my WIPGO board. In fact, I think, apart from the Three Musketeers I've just shown you as an out and about project, I think all the rest of my 2020 starts are on my WIPGO board. Okay. So number 8 is, you'll all know this chart. It is Forever and Ever by Cottage Garden Samplings. Love this. I absolutely love this chart. This got 0 stitches last year. I started it on the 7th of May 2020. And I was really confused because when I went to plan this, I was like, well, all my Stitch Mania pieces got at least 1 day. And then I couldn't find this one in my tracker. I thought, oh, I mustn't have stitched that day. So I had to flick through my diary to see why. And we had a dinner party that evening, which I remember now. It was a really fun night. But so obviously I didn't stitch because we had a dinner party instead. So this got no attention in 2020. And here is where it is. So I've done that yellow cardinal. Pretty much. It's got its legs to do. But basically the yellow cardinal is finished. And I just need to need to do the red cardinal, both the massive flowers and all the greenery. Yeah, be done in no time. This is stitched on Picture This Plus 36 count dapple, and I am doing 1/2 in the called for, which I think are all Weeks Dye Works. Have a look. Yes, they are all Weeks Dye Works, so that is what it will look like. Again, this is on my WIPGO board. I don't think it's realistic to think this will be finished this year. It's a deceptively big project, and I always worry with this. That the fabric's not big enough. But I think it must be because I started in the middle. And basically, this tail is about as far right as the design goes. So I think it should be alright, but I'm always worried that it looks quite a skinny little piece of fabric. We'll see. Yeah, I do have all 12 in this series that I would like to stitch, but given that number 1 hasn't had much attention, I might be waiting a while for that to happen. So yeah, looking forward to getting back to that one as well. I think the next one I'm going to show you is even more pitiful. So this is number 9. And it is Light by Barbara Anna. I got this as a freebie. I assume it's still a freebie. If I can find the link, I'll put it in the description box below. Again, this was a Stitch Mania start. I started this on the 16th of May 2020. And it's had very little attention. I think at least 2 of those 3 Manias, and they're the only, I think it's only had 3 days stitching, as in the original Mania and the next 2, and I think all those 3 days stitching have been rather pitiful stitching days. But anyway, here is where she is. I hope that fabric isn't sending your eyes too crazy. This is on Chromatic Alchemy, I think, and I'm trying to find the tag. It's not attached to the fabric. Pretty sure it's Owl's Dark Magic. Yeah, Chromatic Alchemy, 28 count opal Cashel linen in Owl's Dark Magic. I just thought that looked like a fabulous night sky, but you know, it does send your eyes a bit bananas stitching on it, but it is so sparkly. And because I have changed the fabric, I've obviously had to change the colour of that dress so it didn't blend into the fabric. So I have done my own conversion, and if I ever finish it, I will share my conversion. But yes, that is incredibly sparkly fabric. Again, I think that's on my WIPGO board for 10 days this year, so hopefully should be able to make some progress there. Right. Number 10. Number 10 was, again, a Stitch Mania start in, not that one, where is it? In 2020, and again has had extremely little attention. And it is Good Ship Sampler by Hands On Design, and I'm doing the big one down here. here's where I've got to. So as I said, it really has not had a lot of attention at all. This is on 40 count antique white. I think 2020 was the year of 40 count antique white starts. And they're called for something called Rumi's Creations, which I am not familiar with at all. I've just seen a weird bit of paper in the back of this chart. What are you? What are you, weird piece of paper? No idea. Ah, but on this bit it's got my conversion on it. Haha. So I clearly just use a scrap piece of paper that's going to be doing something on. I do wonder if, because 2020, people back at school by then? No, everyone was at home in May 2020. Lockdown, schools weren't open, and I know my daughter did a remote thank you card to her teacher, and I think they all held up their own letter, and then did a photo montage, and I think she was the O, so maybe that was her first attempt at doing a big O. Anyway, I digress. It has my conversion on because I'm not using any of the called for. I did my own conversion. Again, it's quite close to the original, but it is my own, and it's charted in, not charted in, sorry, my conversion's in Gentle Arts, Classic Colourworks, and Colour and Cotton. So yeah, things I had in my stash. So there we go. So that was on the 20th of May 2020, so obviously that was my last Stitch Mania start of that year. I have one more WIP left over from 2020 to show you, and that's number 11. So this was my birthday start in 2020, so 4th of September 2020, and it's Strawberry Sampler from the Heart Needle Art by Wendy. Now I started this as a SAL, which Sue from Peakside Needleworks organised, and I did it as my birthday start as part of that SAL. So I'd forgotten I had these scissors. I'm finding all kinds of like needles and scissors and all kinds of stuff. The scissor fob, I don't usually use scissor fobs, but that was part of, Sue put that in as part of the SAL. It's a nice little strawberry. But I can't even remember where I am with this, which is pretty terrible. So I think as part of the SAL, Sue kitted up the threads and the fabric, and I think it didn't end up being the called for fabric. What is the called for? I don't think she could get the called for at the time, because obviously 2020, like, supplies were all a bit doolally, weren't they, what with lockdowns and whatnot. So the called for is Legacy from Picture This Plus, and this is Newcastle Light Mocha. So it's just by WIPGO, and this is 40 count, and this is where I am. This got 0 stitches as well in 2022. I need to get on to some of these birthday starts. They get started and then they languish. It's clearly had a bit, I definitely didn't do all that in one day, so clearly got a bit of love at some point, but yeah, it could really do with some more, given that I am here. And this is an Isla alphabet. So there's quite some work to do there, so I doubt that's going to be finished this year either. I'm pretty sure Sue kitted it up in all the called for Weeks Dye Works. There they are. I've got a nice Peakside, it says Peakside Needleworks in there, and it's got a nice little strawberry charm on it as well. So yeah, be good to get back to that. So that brings us to the end of the 2020 WIPs. Okay, so let's crack on with the 10 WIPs I have left from 2021. I finished my New Year New Start from 2021, the end of last year. That was Fox Forest by Al Forest Embroidery, so you might remember I finished that. So the first one I have to show you is from the Stitch Mania I did that year, which was on the 2nd of May 2021, and that was from Sewing Club Book by Blackbird Designs, And it's the first design in that book. It's this drum, Rose Hips and Ivy. And again, this got 3 days in 2022, and 2 of those are over the Christmas period where I really didn't do a lot of stitching. So again, it's been very neglected. And here is where I am. I've dotted about a bit with this. So I'd done that sideboard and I'd started doing the bottom of the top, and then I went in to do that middle motif. And then when I picked it up again this time, I thought it was a bit foolish, so I've carried on along the top with the border. So I think my plan is now is to do the border before I come in and do the stuff in the middle, just to make sure it all meets up. This is on, I think it's hog bristle. Yeah, this is on 36 count hog bristle by Fox and Rabbit Design. And it's with all the called for, which I think are mainly Weeks Dye Works, if not exclusively Weeks Dye Works. In a big old mess, yeah, Weeks Dye Works, there we go. So there's quite a way to go on this, because obviously I've got to do the whole length of the drum and the top. It has a stitched top as well. So we'll see where we get to. Again, it's down for 10 days on the WIPGO board, so that will help. But yeah, we'll see. As I said, I don't seem to have any small. Have I shown you anything yet that's particularly small? I really haven't, have I? They're all kind of quite large. I mean, they're not all massive, but even, I'm trying to finish, let me have a look at the list. Like, Good Chips, I'd say is one of the smallest things I've shown you so far. And that's 144 by 104. So it's not, it's a medium-sized project, isn't it, that? Anyway, I just don't seem to do smalls, and therefore everything takes forever and is massive. This is also in a House of Stitch and Stash project bag. There we go. Okay, number 13 in another House of Stitch and Stash project bag. Now, this is what I've been working on. This was my first WIPGO call of the year. So I have been working on this. I didn't stitch at all on New Year's Day this year. I played Pokemon for ages. Because I am actually 12. One of my children got a Pokemon game for the Switch for Christmas. And I was like, I just remembered how much I love playing Pokemon. So I did play it for quite a long time. So we tend to have guests for New Year's Eve and usually the night before as well. So I usually have quite a big house full. And then it's kind of tradition is everyone stays and we do a cooked breakfast like late morning on New Year's Day, and then people leave. So everyone left by about 1 o'clock, I think. So the house was just us for the first time since Boxing Day night at 1 o'clock on New Year's Day. And all we ever do is the minute the door shuts, we all just sit on our bottoms for the rest of the day. We put films on, we play video games. In the past I've stitched, I didn't this year. But yeah, we all just sit on our big fat bottoms and do nothing on New Year's Day, and it's perfect. I wouldn't want to do anything else. So I played a lot of Pokemon. Anyway, so this has 10 days, and the first day was the second, so I've got today and tomorrow left to stitch on it. And what is this? What is this, I hear you all ask? This is Prairie Schooler Band Sampler. This is book number 40. And I am doing this one, which I think is called Garden Sampler inside. Yeah, Garden Sampler. So when I picked it up on the second, I had a little bit, I had the top border and a tiny bit down the sides. I had that sun and its border. I had that bit of green trellisy stuff and the word plant, and that is it. That is all I had. And this is where I've got to. So it does show you do make progress. So that is 8 days stitching, only in the evenings. So, you know, like we're talking hour and a half, maybe 2 a day, but not like loads and loads. And I am making progress. I'm nearly halfway now. So the house is pretty much halfway, and the house is the heaviest stitched thing on that whole design. What is bugging me is look at this house. And look at the colour of that house. It's like a kind of chestnutty tan brown, isn't it? And look at that. It's like green. I don't mind, but I am using the called for. The called for is DMC because it's a prairie schooler, and I have checked that colour 3 times, and it is definitely right. That is definitely what is written on the chart. And it's DMC 370, is it? Yeah, DMC 370, and they claim it's dark mushroom, but I mean, it's a pretty weird mushroom to me. So I don't know if the model was stitched wrong or if it was charted wrong on the chart or whatever. I'm not ripping it out. I quite like green. Green's my favourite colour. So it doesn't bother me, but it is not the colour on the chart. As I say, this is stitched all in DMC as called for, which doesn't match the picture. And I'm stitching it on 40 count light mocha by Zweigart 1/1. So yeah, I'm really pleased with the progress I've made on that in 10 days. I'll definitely be halfway at 10 days. And again, it's one of those I'm like, well, do I keep it out and try and finish it in January and get a finish under my belt for January? But that might be a bit ambitious, so we'll see. Anyway, I'm really enjoying stitching on it, actually. Really, really enjoying it. And that's part of, again, why I'm like, oh, cardinal points. Because I'm really enjoying stitching on this. I think if I just get cardinal points out and get cracking on it, I'll feel differently. I think it's just one of those, it's been around for ages feelings. So that was started on the 3rd of May, 2021. So, yeah, it'll be 2 years old in May. Right. The next one was started on the 5th of May, 2021. And it's a kit. It's a Luca S kit. And it's this one. And it's called Etude with Strawberries. And I absolutely love that. That is right up my street. I love kind of botanical still lifes. So I'm using all the kit thread, which I think is Anchor. But the kit came with 18 count Ada, and I didn't want to use that because there's going to be a lot of fabric showing, and I just prefer the look of, nothing wrong with Ada, I prefer the look of linen, particularly if I'm going to see that much fabric when it's finished. This is just a piece of white 18 count linen. Excuse me. I just swapped kind of Ada for linen, straight swap, and this is where I am. So again, not a huge amount of love. So there's a long way to go on this one. Again, it's down for 10 days on the WIPGO board. That strawberry is this one here and that little greeny one next to it. So we've got a long way to go. They do a whole series of these with different fruits and also some vegetable ones as well, definitely a pea one. And I've got at least 2, if not 3 of these. I've got one with plums and maybe one with apples as well. Yeah, really like this series. So, yeah. We'll see where we get to with that one this year. Hopefully a few more strawberries will appear. That got no stitching. Oh no, one day stitching last year. Okay. Right, this next one is even more embarrassing. So this one was started on the 6th of May 2021 and got 1 day's stitching on last year. I think this one's so bad. Last time I showed it, I think I showed it upside down. I didn't even realise. Anyway, this is a Dimensions Gold kit and it's called English Castle. I really like this because I'm pretty sure it's based on Scotney Castle, which is just on the Kent-Sussex border. And I really like it. I like going there, it's a National Trust property. Right, you ready? Are you ready for the extreme programme? I have to work out which way up this goes before I show you. That's how bad it is, guys. I can't even. Well, I'm pretty sure it's that way up. There we go. That is what I have done in nearly 2 years. So again, that needs some attention. That is also down for 10 days on the WIPGO board. If you're wondering, it's that, you see that bit of red there in the middle? That. I've never stitched a Dimensions Gold kit before. I'm just using all the kit stuff, even the kit Ada, because it's mainly full coverage. There's a tiny bit, there's a bit of sky that's going to show, but all the rest of it is full coverage. So I'm just using the kit Ada. But yeah, I've never done the Dimensions Gold kit before. I'm not sure what I think about using the different numbers of strands. See. Anyway, I like the design, so we're going with it. We're going with it. Okay, WIP number 16 was started on the 9th of May 2021 and got, I think, about 3 to 5 days stitching on it, mainly at the end of last year. And I think you will remember seeing it if you watched my Flossmas. Sorry. Right. What time is it? Nearly 2 o'clock. This is Seasons of the Heart, Spring by the Blue Flower. I got this, there was a series of these released in the Punch Needle and Primitive Stitcher magazines in 2021. I suspect they'll be released for general sale soon, but that's where I got mine. I was using this as out and about stitching at the end of 2022. That's why I got a few more days. And this is where I am. Now, the reason I haven't carried on with it as out and about stitching is something is wrong in here. There should be more space between those berries and those daffodils, and they're touching, which means something else is wrong. And I need to figure it out before I go any further, because if it's this circle of the heart, it won't meet the other side of the heart properly in the middle. So I'm going to have to go back and work out exactly what is wrong, and then maybe pull some out, which, you know, I think we all love the thought of doing that, which is why it's kind of now languishing. It's on the naughty step, basically. It's on the naughty step. It's stitched on 32 count Belfast in Ravenscore by Chromatic Alchemy, and it's stitched with the called for DMC. And it is pretty. I do want to get back to it. I just need to make myself sit down and work out what's wrong. I think I only discovered something was wrong on like the week before Christmas, like maybe even the 22nd or 23rd. It was quite late on, and there was just so much to do. Like sitting down and working out what was wrong was not going to be possible at that point. So it's just gone in the bag and is having a think about what it's done. Right, number 17. Oh, pardon me. This was started on the 11th of May 2021. This is in another House of Stitch and Stash project bag. And this is Jane Marshall. Oh, focus. Jane Marshall 1857 by Hands Across the Sea Samplers. I bought this at the beginning of 2020 when it was a fundraiser for the bushfires in Australia. Well before COVID. And this did get a bit of love last year. So this one actually got 8 whole days stitching last year. And here's where I am. So, you know, I'm making good progress on that. I'm down to that row of numbers above where it says Jane Marshall. So I'm about halfway, although this is a bit more stitch heavy than the top. This is on my WIPGO board for a finish this year. So we'll see if we get that. I think that should be achievable, to be honest. I think that should be very achievable. This is stitched on, I will tell you, 36 count Plotted Cream by Foxglove and Lace Linen. I haven't seen them selling anything for a while. I'll link them below, but I haven't seen any sales from them recently. And I did my own conversion from stash. What scissors have I got in here? I suppose scissors in here. Oh, yeah. See, I'm finding all kinds of things. So I did my own conversion from stash, which again was very similar to what was charted, but it's classic colourworks and colour and cotton. There we go. So yeah, I'm looking forward to that one coming up on the WIPGO. I think a finish on that is achievable. I do think that is achievable. Right, still in May 2021 for number 18. And you'll have seen millions of these while you've been watching WIP parades. Millions and millions of them. This is in a Penelope's Pocket Project bag, and this should give you a big clue as to what might be living in this. What is living in this is Plum Street Samplers Snort Stack. I have all these animal stacks. Well, not all of them, but a lot of them, and I want to stitch them and have like a little gallery wall of animal stacks in my kitchen. This is the first one I've stitched. This is the first one I've stitched. This got 4 days last year, so under a week, but more than a day. And here's where it is. There we go. So I'm on the second pig. And these are not big. This is not big. This is 54 by 90. So this is probably the smallest thing I'm going to show you today, I think. So that should definitely be finishable this year. Definitely should. This is stitched in all the called for threads. All the called for threads, which are Weeks Dye Works. I'm pretty sure they're all Weeks Dye Works. Oh no, they're not at all. Colour and Cotton and Weeks Dye Works. And the fabric is a piece of fabric I tea coffee dyed myself, and I really wanted it that mottly. I wanted some really, really mottly fabric to do these on. I wanted it that dark. I used Priscilla and Chelsea's tutorial to do that. And you know, it's been in there so long, does it even smell of coffee anymore? Does the project bag? No, doesn't smell. That's how old it is. Doesn't even smell of coffee anymore. It's a piece of paper in there. Oh no, that's just my checklist. So hopefully that should be a finish this year too. Okay, last one of Mania 2021. This was started on the 21st of May 2021. Everything's falling down inside my nicely organised box now because I've taken quite a lot of stuff out. Sorry. This is what I use for most of, just check, I'm not showing you anything I shouldn't. This is what I use for most of my projects. Just these like cheapy zip up plastic bags that you can get on Amazon. And they do a perfectly adequate job. Okay, so this is Arranging Microbes by Ink Circles. I would really like to finish this year as well, because I would like to hang it in my children's bathroom. For obvious reasons. This has got very little stitching on it. This had 1 day last year. This is another one. I have to work out which way up it goes. It's not a good sign. Although, to be honest, that is fairly blobby and I haven't done the work yet, so, you know, could go either way, couldn't it? This is where I am. I'm on that big Petri dish in the middle. This is on 40 count white, using all the 1/1, using all the called for, which are Weeks Dye Works, I'm pretty sure. But it's an awesome colour palette. Look at that. I don't think when I went to get this up I had any of this in my stash, because they're not usually colours I would stitch with, but they're fabulous. Absolutely fabulous. That is definitely on my WIPGO board as well. It's not, that's not massive either. How big are you? How big are you Arranging Microbes? Probably bigger than I think. 87 by 87. But it says this bit, the top picture bit, is 87 by 57. So this, the words aren't very big. There you go. So that should be doable too. That should be doable. So I do have a couple of smallish things. I don't think they really class as smalls though. Okay, right. The next one was another Stitching Book Club sale. Let's have a look. What was this one? This was, it's all stuck together. And I'll show you this cover sheet. Oh, it's all stuck together. Little Women. There we go. And this was the year I was a member. So this year, in 2021, she released Sense and Sensibility, which I finished and is framed and is hanging in my bedroom. I started this, and then she released The Great Gatsby, which I kitted up and never started. And then the Chronicles of Narnia one, which I bought, but I haven't started that either. I'm just trying to work out. So my scissors, this is what's going on here. The scissors are stuck to the needle, mind. I've forgotten I even owned those scissors. That shows how long this has been left languishing. This had 0 days on it as well last year. 0. Where am I? I don't even know where I am with this. Here. I am here. So it's a bit like Three Musketeers, a bit of a sad little start and needs some attention. I think the problem with this one was I started it because I bought a membership, but you know, I don't particularly like Little Women as a book, which I know is a bit sacrilegious, but I don't like it. I find it very dry and long and a bit do-goody. So I don't really like the book. And then I was happy with the colour palette until I saw someone else's. Was it Erin at Perpetual Projects? This is off the top of my head now and it's 2 years old. And she did a colour conversion and she made it much more muted and I liked hers like way more. But then I'd started mine and I was like, oh, I'm not pulling it all out. So I think it just got left. This again is on 40 count. Antique white linen with the called for DMC. I'm pretty sure you can still get this on Stitching Book Club's Etsy shop. I think she's still on Etsy. Yeah, I don't think I have planned to give that one any time this year. That one might end up on the UFO pile as well, to be honest. You can tell my enthusiasm for it. Right, and then the last WIP I still have of 2021, which I do love, and is another one of those birthday starts, which are all charts I love, and all charts that just get no attention. So this had 0 stitches as well last year, and I absolutely love it. It is... It's Kathy Barrick Garden Vegetables, and it's like a planting schedule. Any of you that have been here any length of time know that I have a veg garden and I love my veg garden. I'm not always as diligent as I should be about my veg garden, but I do love it. So I started this for my birthday in 2021 and this is where I am. So yeah, as you can see, loads of progress there, loads. That needs some attention. I think it is on the WIPGO. I would really like to give these birthday starts some attention. That is, sorry, I should hold it up again. 36 count linen in the colour Tobias by Seraphim. And I'm stitching it in all called for NPIs. Or NPSs. Needlepoint silks. And they're beautiful. They're so soft. They are so soft and they're beautiful. They are beautiful. I get these. I get MPSs in the UK. I can't remember who recommended this shop to me, but they're called West End Embroidery or West End Embroiderers, something like that. I'll link it below. And you go, and it's quite a dated website, and it is a bit like, ooh, but their customer service is great. So if you can get over the rather dated look of the website, I've never had a problem ordering from them. Let me put all this back. Sorry, I have to put it all back, otherwise it's just going to be an absolute disaster. It's already looking pretty disastrous, even when we're putting everything back. This is again in another House of Stitch and Stash project bag. So there we go, and that completes the WIPs I have left from 2021. Okay, so moving on to 2022. So everything now is stuff that I have started in the last 12 months. So at least it got some stitching, which is more than can be said for a lot of what you've seen already. So I have 11 WIPs that I started last year. Is that right? Well, I started 13, but I finished 2 within the year. I have 11 left to show you. So my first is my New Year's new start from New Year's Day 2022. So after my guests left last year, I plonked my bottom on the sofa, probably about 1 o'clock, and stitched this. And I remember that day very well actually, because we ended up watching a Barbie movie, which was not universally popular. And I started Tree of Magic by Barbara Anna Designs, which came from a Nitka Moscow kit. So I have no idea what the deal is with Nitka Moscow kits at the moment, whether you can get them in the UK or not. Absolutely no idea. Because obviously I bought this long before anything's happening in Ukraine. And I gave this 1 day, so everything here is what I stitched on New Year's Day 2022. That's where I am. So there's a long way to go, I think it's fair to say. I stitched this cat dude. We have a long way to go there. Long way to go. It's using all the kit materials. So when you buy a Nitka Moscow, I didn't bring it up with me. If I stitch on this year, I'll show you. But when you buy a Nitka Moscow kit, it comes in a tube. And it comes as a kit. So that's the only way to get this chart as a kit from there. And I don't, as I say, I don't know what the deal is. But it comes with the flosses on a card, the fabric and the chart. So yeah, just all the kit stuff on that one. All the kit stuff. And again, it's in a House of Stitch and Stash project bag. So that was number 22. Right, number 23. So this was an unplanned start in 2022. This is in a fabulous Penelope's pocket bag. Look at that. I love this bag. Love it. And this is Mushroom Meadow, which is from Stitchy Princess Black. I've just found something that one of my kids drew in there. One of my kids is quite a good kind of cartoon artist. They're clearly doing some kind of club game. Anyway, that was in there. This is what is nice about going through your project bag, to find all kinds of things. I do anyway. So yes, this was by Stitchy Princess Black, who is on Etsy and was part of the hashtag Stitch for Ukraine, when I think quite a lot of us stitchers bought things from Ukrainian designers as kind of a way of direct aid at the start of the war. So this wasn't a planned start by any stretch of the imagination, but it did get 3 whole days. And this is where I am. I'm on that big toadstool in the middle. This is stitched on, what is it stitched on? 32 Count Belfast in Mossy Ruins by a Crafty Kitten. And I know I did a colour conversion on this because I really liked the colours on the cover sheet, but when I went to kit it up, the colours on the cover sheet did not look like the colours that were charted. It was a much more orangey colour palette. So I kitted it up from Stash and went classic Colourworks, Colour and Cotton. Yeah, all classic Colourworks and Colour and Cotton on this fabulous kind of greeny fabric. So yeah, I'd like to get back to that one this year. It reminds me of the Al Forest embroidery kind of style. Reminds me of Fox Forest that I finished just before Christmas. So that was 23, and that was started on the 6th of March. 6th of March 2022. Right. No, we're doing alright, we're doing alright. I don't know when I'm going to get this edited and up, but I'm doing alright in terms of actually getting it done. Okay, WIP number 24 is from Stitch Mania 2022. This is in another fabulous Penelope's Pocket project bag with Teresa Kogut fabric. That is awesome. All over that. All over that. And this is My Big Bird, which is this chart here. It's on the cover. See if they've got a bigger picture inside. I think they do. There you go, this one. I only stitched on this the day I started it. So let's see how much I've done. I'm not actually entirely sure. Why does she keep bonging on? I'm not entirely sure how much I did. Oh my god. What have we got? Which way round? Haha. There. That's what I did. I've done some of the border. It's not bad for one day actually, for me. Anyway. Now, in the book, so this chart is in this book which was released at Market last year. It's called Love Lives Here. I would thoroughly recommend this book. It's got a lot of charts in it. Like 9 charts or something. And they're charts that were originally released to her Patreons. I don't support anyone on Patreon at the moment. But I think if I was going to, I think Teresa Kogut's one looks quite good, but I don't need any more charts. I really don't. Anyway, so where was I going with this? In the book, it's charted all in DMC, but the model is clearly not stitched in DMC. And all the models in here are stitched by people who are on her Patreon, and they're all accredited. So I found the lady who stitched the model of My Big Bird, and I just dropped her a message on Instagram and said, are you the same lady? And she said, yes I am. And I said, did you do a conversion? And if you did, would you be willing to give it to me? And she did. She really kindly did. So I'm not going to give out this conversion because it's not mine, but it wasn't difficult to find this lady. And she was very, very nice. So she gave me her conversion, which is a mix of all kinds of overdyes. There's some gas, there's some Weeks Dye Works, there's some classic colour works. So, I mean, again, very similar to what's charted, so I'm sure you could get there yourself. And mine is stitched on, I think this is 40 count. And it's 40 count I dyed myself using walnut dye, which I followed Mama Loves You GB, Michelle's walnut dyeing tutorial for that one. So go check that out if you want to know how to walnut dye a piece of fabric. That was, yeah, number 24, which was started on the 12th of May last year. 12th of May 2022. Okay, moving from one bird to another. Still, sorry, having zip issues. From one bird to another, on the 25th, no, number 25 started on the 14th of May last year, was another bird. It was, oh god, I'm making a right mess now. A Pennsylvania bird by Hello from Liz Matthews. Love that. Love it, love it. And I think I'm just using the DMC. Yeah, I'm using the DMC conversion. And I have the most amazing start of that. I only stitched on this the day it was started. I was just so focused on those other things last year that just nothing else got a look in. This is 40 count Clotted Cream by Foxglove and Lace. So yeah, again, something I would love to get back to this year. I love Hello from Liz Matthews. That is the only one I have as a WIP, but I have loads of her stuff in my stash. Absolutely, pretty much anything she designed I am deeply, deeply in love with. I would love to stitch more of her stuff. I just need to actually, you know, stitch some stuff rather than just having it all sat around not being stitched. Okay, right. Next one is in another Penelope's Pocket bag. And This is, and this chart was gifted to me by Sarah from Penelope's Pocket, because I said on her Instagram, oh, what a lovely chart, I've never seen it before. And then when she sent me this bag, she really kindly sent me this in it. And it's Quaker Alphabet by La Di Da. Now this one did get a little more love. It didn't quite reach the dizzy heights of a week, but it did get 6 days. So I started it on the 15th of May in Stitch Mania. But then I took it away with me in October when we went away to Edinburgh for the weekend. So didn't get loads, but it got a bit. So I finished that first Quaker motif and I started on the second. This is stitched on 36 count latte, again from Foxglove and Lace Linen. And I'm stitching this for, it's the first time I've used them in sulky 12 weight petites. And I'll try and show you with some white behind them. There you go. So the one on this one here is a blendable, and this is what I'm stitching most of it in, and it's number 4055, and this is the one I'm going to do the letters in because they're in a slightly different colour, and that is 1293. I'm really enjoying it actually. I'm really enjoying using the sulkies, having never used them before. I won't want to use them all the time, but actually it's quite a good travel project because you're not faffing around with different strands and all that jazz. So could I finish that this year? Probably could. It's not huge. It's not huge. Okay. Okay, so WIP number 27 was started on the 17th of May 2022. Oh, everything's falling down in this box. There's not much left in this box actually. Here we go. And this is from the book Small Samplings by Heartstring Samplery, and it's the first one in the book. It's Esther Cannon. There she is. That's what she will kind of look like, because I'm not stitching it in the cord for. And again, this only got the day it was started. It was a massive piece of fabric. I'm trying to see where I am. Where is the stitching on the fabric? Here. Here. Is that the front or the back? That's the back. Oh dear, I'm not doing well on this one, am I? There. I got a bit of the border done on Esther Cannon. This is stitched on, it's none of the called for. This is 32 count Belfast in Florin by Chromatic Alchemy. And it doesn't have many colours, this chart. It has 2. Now it's charted in Weeks Dye Works, but I didn't use the Weeks Dye Works. I used Wood Smoke by Gast, Gentle Arts. And I will be using Arugula by Colour and Cotton. So very similar to what it's called for, like a green and brown or brown. It'll look very similar when it's done, but it isn't any of the called for. She's not massive either. She could be quite a quick finish if I actually, you know, stitched on her a bit. How big are you? Will you tell me? Oh, 130 by 93. But a lot of that is negative space. Look, it's mainly just letters. Yeah, that wouldn't take forever, I don't think. I can't remember if she's on the WIPGO board or not. I don't think she is, because I think I tried to stick to older WIPs. So obviously there's only 24 spaces on my WIPGO board, so some things were left off. Some things were left off. Okay, that's Esther. Oh, I'll zip the bag up. No, I haven't. No, I haven't. Right, losing it now. I don't even know how long we've been recording for because I've done it in chunks. So I'm not actually sure how long we've been at this. It feels like forever. Right. number 28. And this was started on the 18th of May last year. And it is a sampler in green and blue by Little Robin Designs. So again, not a massive one. And again, this is not in any of the called for because I fully changed it. So my sampler isn't going to be in green and blue, it's going to be in blue and gold. And that's where I got to. So this only got one day. Must have been a cracking stitching day. Look how much I got done. Must have been cracking. This is stitched on, I'll just knock the book off, it's all going wrong now, all going wrong. 32 count Belfast linen in Fallen Leaf by Crafty Kitten. It has got a bit of a pink bloom in there, that isn't the camera being weird, it does have a bit of a pink bloom. And I'm stitching it, as I said, I changed the colour palette, and I'm stitching it in these blues and golds. So my conversion is to colour and cotton, gentle arts, yeah, 4 gentle arts and a colour and cotton. And as I say again, I'm finding loads of needles. So many of these bags have got needles in. I nearly bought needles the other day because I just couldn't find any anywhere. And I've got millions. They're just all in these unused project bags. Right. Okay, we're nearly there, people. We're nearly there. If you're still going strong, well done. I think I'm flagging, so I'm sure you all are. Right, number 29. This is probably the most un-me WIP in this whole pile. And you'll see why in a minute. This is Mirabilia Duchess of Rouen. I do not stitch fancy ladies. They are not my jam. But this one's different, isn't she? Because she's just got fixtures. And if you know, you know. If you can see it, you can see it. So I'm doing that. Again, this one only has been stitched on the day it started, but I do have all the things. I got the, what do they call these things? See, embellishment packs. That's how much I don't stitch this kind of thing. An embellishment pack. I'm stitching it in all the called for. But it's going to be really hard to see. So this fabric is called Icicle, I think. 32 count Murano. It's called Icicle. It's an opalescent, right? And this is going to be super hard to see. Can you see that at all? There's some white stitching literally here, which is her skin. There you go. And that's all I've done, so it's super hard to see. Can you see the sparkle though in that fabric? I thought, well, if you can't sparkle up a silly fancy lady, what can you? Had to buy loads of pink for that as well. Don't stitch in pink a lot. So I do want to get back to her, but yeah, it's not my out of my typical school of stitching. That one. I think it's the only Mirabilia I own. Yeah, not a fancy lady fan. I just don't. It's not I particularly dislike them. I can't imagine hanging one in my house really, like of the standard ones. It's not for me, as my daughter would say. Right, number 30. So on the final 3 now. This is also in a Penelope's Pocket Project bag. This is one of her new style of bags. I think they're called the Dorothy. So no vinyl. And you can see there are foxes and rabbits and trees on here. I wonder if you can guess what is in here. It's got a very nice leafy pattern on the inside. And in here is the fox. Has to be, doesn't it? And we all know the fox. Who is not stitching the fox? This is Cottage Garden Samplings, for those of you that have been living under a stone and have never seen this pattern. It was part 1 of their Year in the Woods 12-parter from last year. I started this on the 22nd of May, so the last day of Stitch Mania. Only had 1 day stitching. Yeah, only had 1 day stitching. Yes, one day. One day. Where did I get to? Again, find the stitching on the fabric, Rachel. Find the stitching. I can't even find the stitching on the fabric. Here. Oh my god. I got... Oh, that tree done. That is literally it. In my head, I was a lot further along with that than that tree. There you go. This is on 40 count Picture This Plus. I think it's the called for. Picture This Plus 40 count Mirage. I just happen to have that in my stash. I would have used something else, but I happen to have the call for in my stash. It is very tight, this 40 count. I think one of the reasons I didn't get very far was I started stitching it in hand. I don't usually have any problem with 40 count in hand, and it's just too tight. So I'm going to have to put it on a snap next time I stitch on it. And just open it up a bit, because, yeah, very, very tight, that 40 count. Stitch it with all the called for threads. Right, final two. Final two. They're biggies. These are not going to be finished this year, these final two. So, number 31 started on the 8th of July last year is Queenstown Sampler Designs, Maria Juanaria. This has started for Crafting Kirsty's birthday, and it's stitch along. I started it, obviously Crafting Kirsty started it for her birthday, and Ellie Welly Stitcher started it. They are both much further along than me. Believe it or not, this had a whole week stitching, but it doesn't look like it when I show it to you. It must have been not a great stitching week. They both started on the border, and I started somewhere else. I started in the middle, and I am here. So while I stitched on it for a whole week, that doesn't really look like a whole week stitching to me. Ooh, my battery's flashing. Bear with me. Right, sorry about that. I just jumped on that straight away because if my if the battery runs out on my camera and it stops filming, I lose everything. I have to like stop it to save it, otherwise it just disappears from the memory card. And I really didn't want to have to do this again. I think I would have cried. Anyway, what was I saying? Yeah, I know it doesn't look like a week stitching. It clearly wasn't a stellar stitching week, but I hope to get some more on that this year. It's a massive piece of fabric. Look at that. I think this is a 36 count. Pretty sure. 36 count. I'm stitching it 2/2 on 36 count in the DMC conversion. Now it's charted in MPSs, but 2 of them were converted to the same DMC colour, so I just converted another DMC colour into that one, which I think will be fine. So yeah, hopefully a bit more on this year. I dyed the fabric myself. I can't remember if I said that or not. But yes, 36 count fabric I dyed myself. I've just knocked everything flying everywhere. Right, so the last one. Just put all this away. The last one. The last one is obviously my birthday start from last year, which you may have seen the theme. Didn't get a right lot of stitching on it. Got 5 days, so it's, you know, did all right. Did all right. And it is obviously in a Penelope's Pocket project bag. I love this one. I love the birds. Right, so what did I start? Has a hashtag, but I can't remember what it was. It was something like bonkers birthday bap sal or something. I'll look it up. I'll look up my own hashtag. Now, I bought this with no intention of starting it, and then Crafting Kirsty said to me, you should start. Oh, I have always wanted to stitch that. You could start that for your birthday and we could sell it. So I did. And it's With the Needle Too by Lila's Studio. And again, 5 days, but not a stellar 5 days. You ready? Are you ready? terrible. I don't even know which way up it is. It's another one of those here. That's where I got to, and that is the border of this middle bit and that star. And that's all I did, which is pretty bad in 5 days. I'm stitching it in all the called for, which are, I think they're all classic colourworks and one gentle arts. I'm stitching it on 38 count latte by Foxglove and Lace Linen. And if you want to see what this chart looks like when someone's actually spent some time stitching it, Crafting Kirsty is like way ahead of me. She's done like definitely all one side of the border, maybe one of these pictures. She's done those. She's done those. She did way more on my birthday start than I did. And that is it. They are all my WIPs. You're seeing everything I've got to show you. I hope you are kind of horrified as to how little love some of these are. I'm a little bit horrified as to how little love some of these have got. In my head, some of them are further on than they are. That fox with that sad little tree done. It's not good, is it? It's not good. But 2023 is the year of the WIP for me. So hopefully some of these will be finishes when we sit down and do this again next year. Hopefully the ones of them that aren't will have seen a lot more love. Not a bit more love, a lot more love. And there aren't going to be many new starts this year, so hopefully when I sit down and do this again next year, the number will be lower and the progress will be greater. I am intending to start a new start for my birthday in September, and I know what it is because this year I am 40. Oh, 40, and I'm doing a hashtag Big Birthday Sal 2023 with Jenny Wilson and Sarah and who else involved? Crafty Lau and lots of people. Stitching Sally I think is going to join in. We've all got big birthdays this year. We've all got a birthday that ends in a 0. Not necessarily the same birthday, but we all have a birthday ending in a 0. So if you have a birthday ending in a 0 this year, jump on board. Anyone can join in. And we're not all stitching the same thing. We're all doing our own thing. It's just part of our turning a big birthdayness. Right, I'm waffling. And I've got to go. And I have literally no idea how long this is going to be because I've done it in loads of chunks. So I will see you next week for a normal floss tube. I'm going to have a wee actually. I'm going to do with a wee. So until I see you next week. See you later, stitchers. Bye.